So how do you create a brand that truly represents who you are and the products you sell, as well as building a business that you can scale online? That is what this podcast will help you do. My name is Henry Kaminsk Jr., and welcome to the Brand Doctor Podcast.
Let me just make this statement loud and clear. Jersey's here, Jersey's here.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another Brand Doctor Podcast episode. I'm your host, Henry Kaminsk Jr. from uniquedesigns.net, aka the Brand Doctor, and we are going to be talking about how to monetize your expertise. And today I have an awesome guest with us, Chris Bello. This guy is an absolute rock star in the real estate space, has grown a tremendous business, grown a tremendous podcast, and has a lot of experience around monetizing your expertise. So I had to have him on the show to have this discussion because I know there's a lot of you out there that want to learn how to do this or do this efficiently, profitably, and to really create a strong reputation around what it is that you do. So Chris, thanks for coming on today, my man.
Henry, great to be here. Can you hear me okay?
You are loud and clear, my friend.
Perfect. And just like we were talking about how to buy a backup mic, so thanks for working with me. You know, you got to be flexible with entrepreneurship, but excited to be here with you today and with your audience and add some value.
Oh, dude, it's such a pleasure. Real quick, before we get started, talk about some of your backstory. I want to get into it. 2-3 minutes. You know, give us that why behind what it is that you do.
Absolutely. So that's a great question. I mean, I know a lot of people have their story of their origin story in a way. So mine is kind of just like going through the motions until after college. You know, I went to school. A lot of my friends went to this private school for high school. I went there. A lot of those friends went to a certain university. So I went there, and I never really was thinking like, what do I want to do with my life? What do I actually want? I picked a degree that sounded like it paid pretty well without being too difficult. Studied supply chain, if that's what anyone's wondering. And I ended up working in oil and gas afterwards. I'm from Houston, Texas. So there's a lot of energy companies, right? Service companies. And about 3.5 years in is when I started to wonder, you know, I got to that place where I finally had money, but I had no time. Whereas in college, I had time and no money. And so now I'm like, well, now I got some money, but I have no time to do anything with it. There's got to be something more. I can't see myself staying here for 10 years to earn 3 weeks of vacation. It just doesn't make sense for me. I'll never get to go anywhere. And so I started reading books and listening to podcasts and, you know, reading 4-Hour Work Week and Rich Dad Poor Dad and thinking like, wow, you know, the rich really do things differently. And they know a secret that we don't. They're leveraging assets and building wealth and leveraging other people's time. And so I actually quit my job in April 2017 to pursue an idea that I since have kind of cut the cord on. And so it kind of goes like that, right? I try to invent something, put a lot of time, effort, and money into it, stumbled my way through other ideas and side hustles while figuring out what I wanted to do. And like many new entrepreneurs do, I fell prey to shiny object syndrome. I want to try this. I want to try that. Let me try this too. Let me put a book on Amazon. Let me build a funnel and try to sell a course on something I don't know anything about. And so I did all that, like many people listening might have done as well, or maybe you're doing that now. And I finally got focused. I picked real estate. I started a podcast. I figured I'm going to be a podcaster while I build my real estate business. And I've stuck with those two things for several years now. I've done the podcast well over 3 years. Real estate I've been in for, I think, over 2.5 years now, maybe coming up on 3 years as well. So that's where I am now. And when you stick with something, big surprise, it actually starts to work after, you know, a couple of years usually, I think, is usually when you start to see the tipping point.
Well, it's like the circle of focus I talk about a lot. You know, when you can focus on one thing and give 100% to that one thing, you bet your ass it's going to grow, it's going to build, right? Yeah, exactly. But when you spread yourself into 3, 4, or 5 different verticals all at the same time, that's going to create quite a bit of riff and quite a bit of stretch on your part as far as attention and effort. And it's tougher to do. So, you know, yeah, everybody says 7 streams of income and this and that. And yeah, but why don't you spend a year or two developing that one stream of income first, then start to branch out. And that's what I've been able to do as well. And it's working out quite well. But I want to get into some of the monetization strategies that you've been implementing inside of your business, and go deep on this right after this quick little message. If you're a business owner who feels your branding isn't truly representing the value that you deliver, check out this free video training that will help you level up your brand's messaging and online presence so that you can start attracting higher quality clients. Visit www.uniquedesigns with a Z at the end, not an S, .net/level up my branding. So we are streaming this podcast live at the moment, and we do have a live audience. And I just want to encourage the live audience, if you have questions for Chris or myself, drop them in the comments and we'll field them towards the end of the show. So just wanted to say that out loud. Chris, let's get into some thoughts, concepts, strategies in monetizing someone's expertise. Let's kind of walk them through the step by step and get them to where they need to be. But so use yourself as a case study, if you will. How did you start monetizing your expertise, and what has it turned into today?
So to start, first, I would recommend that the audience actually get clear on what they want to do. What is their offer? Who is their target avatar? And for me, there was confusion around that because, like I mentioned, I try to create a product. I was trying to create a brand and get, patent designs and stuff with an attorney. And so I was very unclear. I was trying to create a product before I really had my audience. And when I started my podcast, I flipped it. I said, okay, let me build an audience. And then when I figure out what my message is, what my voice is, and I add enough value to attract a tribe, then I can produce offers that make sense, right? So I started to get clear on what kind of content do I want to create? What kind of person do I want to attract to work with me? And then I realized that real estate is this vehicle, service industry, it's plug and play. You can get a license in real estate. You can get a license, I guess, as a hairstylist, for example, or barber, and you can get clients and start working right away. You don't have to really learn a crazy amount of skill. And so that's what I had done with real estate. And so I guess to put this in steps, and I'm going to write these down just so I don't get mixed up on them, I'd say first, get clear. Clarity is very important. Who do you want to serve? What do you want to do? What is your expertise right now, if you have any? Or what is the expertise that you actually want to acquire? Because that's going to require that you get a mentor or get training. You have to be an expert in something, but no one starts as an expert, right? So get clear would be my first step. And feel free to stop me at any time or dive in and ask questions. I'm actually writing these down so I don't get all mixed up in my own numbers. So step one is to get clear.
I love it. That's awesome. Listen, I'm going to highlight something that you said about defining who you want to serve, but you sprinkled in the word offer in there, like establish some sort of offer. And I think that's where a lot of people get tripped up. They don't necessarily have the right offer. They have the service, they have the skill set, they have the transformation, they have the fill in the blank, right? But they don't know how to package it.
Exactly.
Right? And so it's very, very important to make sure that you package it in a way that people are going to resonate with it. It's going to be relevant, and it's going to come through somebody's feed, and they're going to say, I want that. And so you can't really build a brand. You can't really build a monetization strategy without that. And so I just want to plug that in. I hope people start to realize the importance of offer structure and development and how you position that, before you really dive into the fun stuff. So good. Carry on.
Yeah. So after you get clear, I'd say the second step in my own journey, if I'm actually backtracking and remembering what I did. Second step, the correct step, I made a lot of missteps there, but the second step that I would recommend to your listeners and to your audience, find a mentor, find someone who's actually done what you want to do. Don't waste time asking your friends or family who don't have experience in that thing. You love them, that they could still be your friends, you love your parents, but if they've never done something in the field that you want to become an expert in, everyone's got advice, but what is their advice really worth if they don't have that experience? No hard feelings. It's just, have they done this thing that you want to do? And if not, how are they supposed to know how to get you there, right? The way that I like to think of it is just personally, if I had a personal trainer at the gym that didn't really look like they were in shape and I saw them eating bags of Doritos before our session, that's probably not someone I want to be training me. I want someone who's like chiseled and, they're competing in bodybuilding competitions or something like that. Or maybe they have some kind of credentials or they've coached other athletes to achieve something. So my second step would be to find a mentor who actually has done what it is that you want to do. That is super key, because if they haven't, a lot of people label themselves as mentors or coaches, right? But they don't have the background or credentials to actually effectively coach you. So to tie that back to my story, after I had quit my job and gone out on my own, I realized that I needed help. And so I started going to these seminars, real estate seminars, real estate events, networking with people, and listening to podcasts about real estate. And that's how I found a company in Houston called Senna House Buyers. They did wholesaling. It's like flipping contracts, basically. And I kind of put my tail between my legs. I was like, look, I need a mentor. I don't have 30 grand to pay. Like a lot of these coaches charge you 30, 50 grand for coaching for a year. And of course you can make that money back, but a lot of people who don't have the work ethic don't. So I actually went in, I worked with them for a year to get my feet wet. I had a position with them. I was in business development. And within 3 months, I had done a deal that netted the company $32,000, a single deal, 32 grand in 2 weeks.
That's awesome.
And just to highlight the power of mentors, the owners, they're a couple years older than me, very cool environment, didn't feel like a company, like a big company feel. They're like, dude, this is awesome. You know how long it took us to do our first deal over 20 grand? It took us over 2 years. You did it in 3 months.
Wow.
With the power of mentors. Without their help, without their guidance, I might have been too scared to go to the appointment. I wouldn't have felt ready. But because I had them to lean on if I had questions, I went to the appointment on my own. I got the contract, found a buyer in our investor pool, got the deal sold, 2 weeks, $32,000 profit. And that is something that you can't learn necessarily on your own, or you can, but it'll just take way longer, right?
Indeed. I wish I got a mentor sooner. It took me about 5 years to get my head out of my own ass and figure out like, oh, Henry, you don't know it all. You need some help. And I was able to, and my first mentor really was Russell Brunson. Talk about, diving in and going to the top of the funnel game and saying, I want to learn from you. You've established yourself. You are the guy. And, boom. I mean, it just fast tracked my skill set. It fast tracked all of the mistakes I probably would have made. I still made mistakes. There was a lot of mistakes I made, but I was able to avoid a ton more by getting that mentor. So big move right there. These are great tips, by the way, dude.
Thank you, man. Thank you. So just to reiterate, so step one, get clear on what you want, your audience, your offer. That takes time. I didn't know what I wanted to do at first. I fell into it after I tried several things. Secondly, get a mentor with experience who can help you, who can be there to answer questions that come up. Third, I would say become an expert. You have to become an expert in whatever it is that you want to do. That means that there's a joke in real estate. A lot of people are secret agents. No one even knows that they have their license, that they do real estate or anything, because their LinkedIn profile shows, full-time job here, and they happen to have a real estate license, or they happen to do this, branding business on the side, or they might create a logo for a friend every now and then. That's not really embracing it and becoming a pro. When I went all in, there was a little bit of a period there where I was like, man, maybe I shouldn't post it on LinkedIn in case I want to go back to that job, great paying job, great benefits. But I went all in. I became an expert. I decided I'm going to be the go-to person. I'm posting everything about this. My profile now on LinkedIn says host of the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast, Houston real estate expert. Those are the things that I do. I don't care if my previous bosses and the higher ups in the company are like, whoa, what is this guy doing? He left a great job to start this thing, and now he's like selling homes and helping people buy homes and going in these investor properties that have brown pools and like hoarder houses. What the heck is he doing? But then they start to see, oh, look at that deal, 32 grand commission on that deal, $20,000 commission on this other deal. And then maybe they're scratching their heads wondering like, okay, maybe he's not so crazy after all. But that all started when I became an expert. I went you have to be the go-to, right? Whenever people think about fixing their brand or getting help with that, you are the go-to for that person. And in my audience, in my sphere, people who know me, when they think of like, I have a question about Houston real estate, who's the expert? Oh yeah, Chris. He posts about it 5 times a day, and his LinkedIn bio actually says that he does that. I'm going to reach out to him instead of my Aunt Sally, who has her license but hasn't done anything, in the last few years. So kind of sorry, Aunt Sally, if you have your license.
It's so funny. I was having this conversation with a colleague yesterday about Clubhouse and how everybody's a branding expert on Clubhouse.
Gotta love those Clubhouse bios.
Right. And 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 my colleague was venting to me by saying, I dig a little deeper, and there's no proof. There's nothing here that I could read or see or watch or read that would convince me that you're an expert. So the one thing that I would have the audience consider is take a look at your accomplishments, take a look at your accolades. This is not bragging. This is not you know what it is? The braggers, the arrogant people, the people that want to rub it in your face. There's a vibe when they go to do that. Like there's a vibe that you pick up on, and it just doesn't feel good, right?
Yeah.
But when somebody tells an inspiring story and says, man, this is a rags to riches story, or this was a really cool story that I've learned so much from. I have a couple clients that have worked for Disney and worked for Nike and worked for some of these big brands like Versace, and they tell these stories about what they've learned through that experience. See how different that comes across? So they're showcasing and demonstrating their expertise, but they're doing it in a way that is very tasteful, that has a story behind it, and makes you say, wow, like I'm impressed. So you can't be the expert without the experience. So make sure that you start to build that expertise. I remember the first time I hit the 2 Comma Club award. I didn't think anything of it until I put the picture of me holding the award on my website, and I started to post about it. I did a podcast about it, and I started to get this feedback. And then I started to get clients because they said, well, shit, if he can build a funnel that generates over $1.3 million, maybe he can help me achieve that. And then I realized the power of that award, and we're about $100,000 away from our second one, which is I'm super excited about. But
awesome,
right? I'm saying to myself, like, there's the credibility, there's the proof, there's the actual expertise. So make sure that you showcase that expertise, because that's what people are looking for. They're gonna size you up, and just make sure that you position yourself in a way, and don't be afraid to share that stuff. And I gave you a cool example on how to do it in a tasteful way. So continue. Great stuff. I love this conversation.
Yeah. And just to add to that, I mean, I have on my vision board, which I have on my desktop, by the way. So I have a quote from Patrick Bet David, and it says, in the end, your success will speak for itself. And it's got a cool picture of him in front of a Ferrari, I believe. I can't really, it's not zoomed in, but very cool quote. And it's so true that your success will speak for itself. I mean, when I became an expert, when I embraced this stuff, I mean, I didn't feel like an expert, right? When do you become an expert? It doesn't just like, oh, I'm an expert. It happens from having the mentors, doing the reps, doing deals, whatever it is that you do, you have to put the reps in, you have to put the time in, and you mess up, you make mistakes along the way. We all do. No one's perfect. And you end up becoming an expert where it seems overnight, like you still have the self-doubt. I still constantly am like, well, am I the right person? Do I really know what I'm talking about? And then maybe a big deal comes through, or you get a new award and you're like, I am an expert. I'm underselling myself. I'm undervaluing myself. And you start to prove to yourself and others that you actually are an expert from what you're showing them. Look, I got this award. I closed this many actions. Look how many clients just signed with me. It's an amazing feeling, and it helps you understand that you are adding value. It helps you overcome that self-doubt in a way. So after you become an expert, of course, I would say you have to actually market yourself, right? It sounds crazy. I wish I could my friends and I just joke, we wish we could just telepathically attract clients. And that's kind of my strategy in a way, but I'm posting a ton. I'm engaging with people. I'm doing podcast interviews such as this. I'm having guests such as yourself on my show later this afternoon, creating relationships, maybe getting an introduction to the next person whose podcast I'm going to be on, right? Or maybe they can be on mine as well. And doing that work, the stuff that seems like, is this really paying off? Is another podcast going to move the needle? It's hard to measure sometimes, right? But through having the connections, having the conversations, showing up, like I mentioned earlier, I showed up today. I was thinking should I cancel all my appointments today because my flight to Houston got canceled and I don't have my equipment here? No, I found a WeWork. I bought a mic and a camera, and we're here. We're live. We're making it happen. Girlfriend's hanging out at the hotel, watching some TV, catching up, and you got to make it happen, right? And so when people see this, I posted about it. I was like, look, I hope everyone at home's okay. A lot of families without power. My parents don't have power, for example, in Houston. Pipes bursting. They're not used to cold weather down there. Mm-hmm. But it's out of my control. I'm not there. I can't do anything about it. I'm stuck here. I'm going to focus on what I can control. And I'm going to make an opportunity to market this to my audience. Look, if you hire me, this is what you get. No excuses, no cancellations. I show up. I'm here. Whether you like it or not, right? Sometimes I got to share bad news. Clients, may have to be disappointed at times because of things outside of your control. For example, one of my listings, I'm like, man, I hope his pipes didn't flood, bust and his house isn't flooded. I'm going to have someone go check on it for me since I'm out of town. But market yourself. And you don't have to, Gary Vee talks about this, document, don't create. That is something that I'd like your audience to take away, because when you think about creating, it sounds like you have to have a perfect background. You have to have the perfect caption and picture, and everything has to be beautiful. But a lot of people love to see the messy stuff. Like, I'm in this little airplane cubicle. If you're watching this on the live video on YouTube, there's cables, there's my water bottle, my backpack's on the floor. It's not a pretty sight. It's not the best studio, but the audio quality is there, and I'm hopefully bringing the value here. So market yourself, post a lot, let people know what you do. That kind of goes back to letting people know you are an expert and you're embracing that. So that would be step 4, market. And of course, if you have anything to add to that as well, marketing yourself, that is a whole nother podcast topic, right?
It is. But to echo what you're saying, it's so important to market. To keep in mind, folks, I was just talking to a friend on a Zoom earlier today, talking about, and she's in the real estate space. So she's a realtor and she's trying to get more listings. And I said, when's the last time you went live? When's the last time you posted something business related? Right. And the answer was no. I don't remember. And I never did. Right. But so the point that I want to make is it's 2021 and it now takes 21 touches for somebody to actually take action on you or your business. So the reason why I'm on Clubhouse, Instagram, live stream, on multiple platforms is because I am building up my touch points every single day. And I see the fruits that it's bearing. And I remember I was thinking about this yesterday. I remember when I had family members teasing me, I had friends teasing me, like, Henry, when are you going live? When are you going live, Henry? Right. And they used to tease me about it.
You did it all the time, probably.
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah. And like, it was like this joke. And now I'm joking all the way to the bank because that's how I make my living. Right.
Love it.
And it's bearing massive fruit, and it's helping a lot of people too. Right. Because I truly believe that people are going to buy you before they buy your product or service. And I just happen to enjoy being in front of the camera and speaking and talking and having a conversation. And God gave me that gift, right? Not a lot of people could do it. But the reason why I'm out here so much is, first, I want to serve. right? I want to help people. I want to share my journey and help people, like you mentioned, not make the same mistakes I did, right? But I'm going to be very honest with everybody. I'm here for business. I'm here to build business relationships. This business helps me support this podcast, helps me support my family, helps me support the clients that I serve, so I can go to conferences. I can continue to build and grow and learn and transfer all of that knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to you so I can help you grow your business. So yes, first and foremost, it's serve, it's help. But I'm in business to make money. I'm in business to create relationships and connections, and do not be afraid. Do not be fancy. Do not be cute about that. Be straight up with your audience, and they're going to appreciate that. They will, because they're like, this is a straight shooting guy, right? What you see is what you get. And I can tell you that goes a long way with me. You know, if you were to tell me, like, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, all right, sign me up. Like, I'm all about that energy, right? If you can help me get to where I want to be faster, I'm all in. So, yeah, marketing and understanding 22 touch points. If you're not out there, you know, making a difference every single day through your content, well, somebody else is.
Exactly. And also to add on that point, I mean, now we live in such a distracted world, right? I had one friend, he texted me 2 days ago, and of course I'm in this whole fiasco, like, well, trying to get my flight set up to go back home. And so I didn't reply to him. I have like 10 unread texts and like a couple unread emails. My out of office was up. And so following up touch points, he's very good at this. His friend texted me today with him in the group chat. Hey, Chris, what's up, bro? We got a question. I guess they want to do like a collaboration or a podcast. And so that got me, you know, the second touch, I replied, hey, what's up? You know, we got to schedule something. I see you guys are doing great. And then I replied to the other guy who I hadn't texted since 2 days ago, right? So touch points go a long way. Mm-hmm. And also one more point that I forgot to add on the marketing yourself, just being that expert, omnipresence, right? Like you mentioned, platforms, you're on Clubhouse, you're on Instagram, you're on YouTube, you're posting on LinkedIn, you're everywhere. And so people that are in your audience, or they kind of fall into your funnel, or they become aware of you, they start to see, wow, you're adding value every day, day in and day out. You're doing live videos. You're showing up. You are a pro. Stephen Pressfield talks about this, turning pro. You're not just dabbling anymore. You're not putting one post a week. Hey, guys, you know, by the way, I'll make you a website or whatever. You have become the pro. Like, I do this. This is how I make my living. And yes, I do charge for this because I have to upgrade myself. That's kind of a hard thing for a lot of entrepreneurs to do. You got to do all this stuff for yourself, and you got to sell, and you got to deliver on the services, right? But that is a key component. If you're not making money, it's not a business, it's a hobby, right? So that kind of leads into my fifth and final point would be your CTA, your call to action. You have to have the call to action. Make your ask, make your pitch. It might take a little bit of practice to deliver this the right way, right? I think you mentioned this earlier, is that a lot of people don't have the right offer, or the wording's off, or maybe the message isn't coming across correctly. It's hard to put yourself in the minds of your customers or your clients who maybe are in a position that you were in a few years ago. So what seems basic to you may actually be pretty advanced to them. I have that happen all the time, where I'm like, do I really know this? And then people who've never done a real estate deal, to me, I'm an expert. I've done, you know, several deals. I got multiple transactions closing a month. To me, to them, I'm an expert. But of course, there are others down the road who are doing 10 times the volume, 20 times the volume. To them, I am a newer, you know, novice, but to me, they are experts, right? So we're all at different levels. We're all trying to get better, but you've got to make your calls to action, have your offer in there. And I mean, there's different ways to do this. Personally, I'm pretty passive. I'm conversational, right? What you see is what you get. When my clients meet me in person, if they've been watching my live videos, for example, I'm probably wearing the same shirt they saw earlier. If they want to meet later that day, I'm not dressing fancy or anything. It's like, what's up, guys? How can I help? You want to go check out a couple houses, write an offer? I'm happy to help. Let's get it done. I'm not a different person, right? My voice on the podcast is the same as how I talk in real life. I'm not putting on a front. And so you've got to be genuine and make your offer in a way that's authentic to you. You will attract the type of people that you want to work with, right? I'm sure you've taken on clients that you regret taking on. It wasn't a good fit. You saw the dollar signs before you saw the potential pain points and you regretted it. I've done that too. I recently cut a couple clients loose that weren't really a good match for my frequency, the level of energy and positivity that I want to be on, for example. So you've got to make sure you make your call to auction. You make your call to action in a way that's going to attract your right audience. And then you'll have clients that you actually enjoy working with. It'll be fun. You'll have a fulfilling life. And of course, it takes a little bit of trial and error. We don't all figure it out right away, right? And it's okay to fire your clients if it's not a good fit. They can fire you, vice versa, right? At any point in time, if it's not working out, have that conversation. If it's not going to be a good fit, it's okay to let it go.
Dude, that's powerful stuff. And I'm going to take it a little bit deeper because I'm happy that you ended with the call to action as the final step. So now let's take the dive, right? Let's take the dive down to what that call to action looks like. So the vehicle that's going to help you monetize your expertise is a sales and marketing funnel. Okay.
Exactly.
This is what we do and build for our clients day in and day out to help them monetize. So there is no cookie cutter approach to doing this. You can go to a competitor and you could see what they're doing and try to recreate it and rebuild it for you and hack it. But if you don't understand the psychology behind it, if it doesn't reek of your brand and the values and alignment that are associated with it, the funnel will fail. So what do those steps look like? So I'm going to share with you how we do it for a potential subject matter expert so you have an idea. Step one is to get them to know, like, and trust you, right? So how does your clients consume their information? Do they listen to podcasts? Do they read? Do they watch video? So to your point on step one is knowing who you're serving. You need to understand this. Otherwise, when you go to create that lead generation offer and you're sending them to a blog post when they hate to read, nobody's gonna dive down your funnel. Right? So that's step one. Step number two is, now, what do you want them to experience now that they've chosen to go down your funnel? What does it look like? What do the touch points look like in between the next point of contact, which for us, it's a brand assessment. It's a conversation with me that's not free. It's not free. That's the next touch point. Well, what happens after that, right? Well, they're going to come on an assessment call with me and we're going to dive super deep into where they're at, where they want to go, and the challenges in between that they need to overcome. Then what happens after that? Well, we got a couple of options. We can get into coaching. We could get into mentorship, or we have a done for you program that's going to establish a brand or a rebrand and help you build out your funnel, your website, your messaging, your identity online from soup to nuts. And it's all done for you in 90 days or less. That's the funnel. That's the experience. That's what needs to be customized for you. So that call to action is so important, but what happens after that is important too. And there's a lot of nuances that you need to dial in and tune up to get it right. So when you do it, it may not, and this is why the importance of brand strategy is so important, right? If you don't do the strategy up front, then you are building a funnel blind, and that's dangerous for many, many reasons. So that's why I always say measure twice, cut once, and that is the equivalent of doing brand strategy. Then we can build it out, and it goes up pretty fast. Like when you're building a house, if you don't have a blueprint, forget about it. But when you have a blueprint, it's like it's like putting together Tinker Toys. Like it's just boom, goes right up. So treat your business the same way you would treat your brand, or your home if you were to build a new home. So I'm so happy that you talked about this, because it's what's going to help folks monetize their expertise in a step-by-step fashion and give them sort of the clarity and focus, because right now they may be sitting here like, I got a lot to work with, but I don't know what to do with it all. And so I was hoping this episode is going to help them kind of get some puzzle pieces in the right place so that they can start, getting some traction and getting some momentum. So Chris, my man, thank you so much for coming on today. I'm so pumped for later. I can't wait to come on your show.
Likewise. Can't wait.
Where can people learn more about what you do? Give them the name of the podcast. So you mentioned it before, but give them the name of the podcast, give them the website, give them everything.
Yeah, so you can reach me. My podcast is called the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. It's on Apple and Spotify and all those different platforms. I also put the videos up on YouTube if you prefer to watch the talking heads or if it's a solo episode. And then you can check me out at chrisbello.com. That's just CHRIS, B as in boy, ELLO.com. That's my main site. I'm also most active on Instagram or Clubhouse. You can find me on there. Would love to connect. And also make sure to check out our episode on my show, because we're going to be recording that this afternoon. I can't wait, Henry.
I'm pumped. Well, there you have it, guys. Another episode in the books. Don't forget to share this episode with somebody who may get value out of it. Don't forget to leave a review. I love reviews. I'll shout you out on all my platforms if you leave one. And like I said, if you take action on just one or two, or maybe even 3 steps, if you're feeling ambitious from what Chris and I spoke about today, it's going to help you get a hell of a lot further ahead than you taking no action at all. So, have an amazing day, guys, and I will catch you on the next episode real soon. Hey everyone, this is Henry Kaminsk Jr. again, and really quick, I want to invite you to a one-on-one consult with me right now if you're looking for the clarity and focus you need to build your brand. Over the past 13 years, I've served hundreds of entrepreneurs that have great products but struggled tremendously with articulating its value to their ideal customers. You didn't get into business to just change a few lives, did you? Your ideal clients need you. And when your brand has precision-crafted messaging coupled with beautifully thoughtful design that sounds, looks, and feels like you, they'll know you're the perfect match for them. If this is something you're struggling with, what I want you to do right now is pause this audio and go visit www.uniquedesigns with a Z at the end, not an S, .net, and book your one-on-one consult call with me. Remember, the quality of your brand will determine the quality of your clients, and the quality of your clients will determine the quality of your life.